At long last, we have finally made ourselves to the White Palace. And I'll be honest, there are a lot of platforms in this area. However, there's not as many as you'd think. And so, our second to last area, possibly one of the most difficult areas in the entire game, we are now going to be ranking every single floating platform in this area. And I have broken up everything into kind of different groups. You'll notice that this is a collection of screenshots because, unfortunately, there is no downloadable map of the White Palace online, so I had to go and, the best I could, just kind of scrap things together via screenshots. And so there are a lot of different rooms to be had, and we're going to go through all of them, and I'm going to be ranking every single platform. There's actually not that many, and that's mostly due to technicalities. So again, remember, they have to be individual floating platforms. Technically, anything that is not connected to, another walkable surface or is not connected to a wall counts, which means there's a lot of places where we have something like this. We'll actually end up having a lot of weird circumstances where something like this kind of appears. This giant pillar protruding from the ground. And unfortunately, because it's not floating, it is connected to the quote-unquote ground of this screen, I can't really rank this one. And we'll end up having a lot of those. There's only one here, but you'll find out that there's a lot of them in the White Palace. And so that actually cuts down a lot of platforms. Another thing that you guys might be very, very curious and eagerly looking forward to is that one section of the White Palace. And don't worry, we will get there. But we're going to tackle the main portion of White Palace first. So let's go ahead and start. And this is officially where all the platforms kind of begin. Before this area to the left, there is actually nothing. The moment you actually have the Awoken Dreamnail, you Dreamnail the broken corpse of the King's Mold, and then you enter into the White Palace, there are no platforms. It's only up to here where we find our first couple of platforms. And this, I believe, is where things will begin to get a lot more crazy. So in case you didn't know, of course, the White Palace is specifically a platforming sequence. The entirety of it is a platforming and, death trap kind of a place. However, there are a lot of really, really good platforms, as well as a couple of very, very strange platforms. I will be going over each and every one of them. In the first room, I suppose, I've organized these by rooms. We have our first, actual platforming sequence. The unfortunate part is a lot of these may seem like really bad platforms, but they're actually there for a very specific reason, such as this one all the way at the bottom. Because you might be thinking, well, naturally, if you go down here, you can't actually get up here, or at least you fall short ever so slightly. That's kind of true. You actually do have to either stop here and then go here, or just simply go up and around. And so it immediately tells you this place is not what it looks like. It's a lot more difficult than it looks. So in my opinion, these platforms are really, really good. I'm gonna give this one a 7, a 6, a 7, 5, and this one will also get a 5. Now you might be wondering why I gave that bottom one a 5, because it's so out of the way and not actually helping to progress into the next areas. It's because it teaches you, okay, so this was a dead end. Am I to expect any more dead ends in this area? And the answer is, of course, yes. There are a couple of more dead ends in this area, which may seem a little bit weird, but I have found some places where I actually didn't even know it existed, because I never went there. I really like this platform specifically because it teaches you, regardless of how you get here, this is a small platform and it's telling you, you have to get good at platforming. Otherwise, you will not be able to progress in this area at all. So this one specifically, I want to give an 8. And then after this is kind of just normal platforming. You just jump from one to the other. So I'm going to give those ones a 5. By the time you reach the White Palace, if you're not good at platforming, I'm sorry. You should not be in this area. This one obviously is just a platform. I'm going to give this one a 5 just because it is the average platform. But we have a couple of technicalities coming up a lot in the White Palace. This little portion right here, this platform, is technically a individual floating platform that's not connected to any walls or any other walkable surface. And the reason why is because there are usually little gates right here that block you off. but they open up. Which means, after you open them up, now this is its own thing. It's no longer connected to the walls or any ceilings or anything else. And this little thing right here, this is an elevator. This thing will shoot all the way up. I did crop it out slightly, but it will go all the way up to where the knight is currently standing up there. So technically, these are two individual floating platforms. It's just that one of them moves somewhere else. So I will be counting that one as its own individual platform. So in my opinion, I actually really like this platform right here. This is a 7.5 in my opinion. And the reason why is because immediately upon arriving to this little area, you're either, well, I guess from this part, you're either going to go here or you're going to try to go up here. And it tells you, hey, what is that weird thing in the middle of that top platform? I don't know what it is, but it looks cool. And it's gated off. I can't get in there. And it tells you like, oh shoot, there's a lot more to this area than what meets the eye. I need to explore in order to get there. And that's the whole point of the game too. So in my opinion, that's a powerful 7.5. And the only way to actually access this elevator is by going to the right into this room. And this is our, I guess, technically room number 2. I didn't label it as room number 2 because if I did, we'd have like 13 rooms. Instead, we have 6. But this is the next little area. And you'll notice there's a little, I guess, lantern switch thing up here. This was what opens that room previously. It opens up this little place to get to the elevator. So you are required to go here. At least for the first part. These are all just average platforms. They don't do anything special, they don't really do anything important. They're just kind of there to get you from one place to the other. Which is a little bit unfortunate, but for a, I suppose, introductory spot, I think it's fine. But this platform is technically a floating platform as well. I think this one just gets a 5.5. And then we have this platform right here. I think this is just a 5. Just hop on over. This platform right here, I'm going to give this one a 5.5 because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is also where a respawn point happens. And you'll respawn roughly where the knight is currently standing. And then we have this platform. I think this one gets a 5.5 because of one thing. This platform up here. For casuals, you may not know this. For speedrunners, you also may not know this. Well, you probably do know this, but maybe not. This is a very, very important platform in some speedruns. The normal way to get up to this platform is very simple. Jump, and you double jump. Big whoop. For a casual, it's literally nothing special. That's all you do. But for a speedrunner, specifically a low percent speedrunner, there is a glitch here that you can do. Well, I guess, quote-unquote glitch. It's more like a bug, really. But there's a thing you can do here called slope ball. Or fire ball stall, or I don't know. There's a word for it. I like to call it ball stall. But essentially, what happens here is, if you were to jump as the knight roughly around here-ish, and then you shoot a fireball or a vengeful spirit very, very precisely roughly around there, it will actually get stuck. And then you can actually pogo off the vengeful spirit and continue climbing. And because of that little skip, low percent has managed to delete, I think, like 2 more percent. And it's insane. It's crazy. I remember I was trying to figure out how to do slope ball for a while. It's so insanely hard because you need a bad FPS to actually have it work consistently. Which means if you're on current patch and you lower your frame rate, you'll have a lot more input buffer, which is really, really annoying and really bad, technically. But it makes slope ball much, much easier. And I've gotten it once by accident. Well, by accident as in I wasn't expecting to get it, and I practiced for like 30 minutes, and I got it once. Just kind of randomly, and I have no idea what was different. The unfortunate part about slope ball is also it's slightly RNG specific. The lower your FPS, the higher the chances of slope ball consistent. However, the higher FPS you are at, it's actually less likely that slope ball will function as intended. But because of that, and low percent ending, this platform is one of the most important things in low percent true ending. Because you need to get to this area, but you can't do it with Monarch Wings, which means that's a percent there, which means you also don't need Lost Kin or Broken Vessel. and it allows you to go up here way, way earlier with less equipment. In my speedrunning opinion, this platform here is an 8.5. And obviously the reason why I gave this one a 5.5 is because in order to do slope ball, well, you can't be on this platform yet. You have to jump from here and then fire Vengeful Spirit, which is why that platform is so important. If it was anywhere else, it may not have been possible, but I do appreciate it. But there's a lot of speedrunning stuff here going on, which is probably a good point to say it now. There is a lot of speedrunning tricks in this area. I don't know all of them. However, I will point out some when I can, so please bear with me. Speedrunners, don't flame me too hard. Casuals, be amazed at what speedrunners do, I guess. And then we have this, I guess, big platform. There is a breakable floor right here, so I guess it does count as its own platform. I actually want to give this one a 6.5 because it has this little switch, and it's a nice reminder of this is good, this is nice, and that's really all that there is. There's nothing more. And then you go down here. I'm not gonna lie, this platform here is kind of cool. Its only purpose is that when you fall through that floor, you land on this one instead of landing straight down and potentially just losing a mask. I think it's nice. It serves its purpose, but it's not like, oh, this is such an important platform. It's just kind of okay, I suppose. And then you make your way back to the main room, and then you go up with the elevator. And the elevator up here, I actually think this is a very, very cool mechanic, because it's the first kind in this game. I believe there's only 3 elevators in this entire game. This is the first one. I actually think this is really cool. I will give this one a 6.5. And then, immediately upon using this elevator, you are greeted with spikes. Our first spikes of the area, and it's immediately really, really scary. Because, well, you can see the spikes, especially as a casual, and just think, oh, well, okay, I'll just jump over here and go over there and continue going up. And that is the intended way to go about things. You know, you want to go up in this case. So in my opinion, as an introductory, this platform will get a 5.5. And then we have one more platform in this room. It's nothing special. It's just a 5. Its whole purpose is that you go upwards. That's it. But this is just the beginning. Because in room number 2, this is where the main hub of the White Palace is. From the previous area, we're going to come up through this way, up to this way. Oops, I'm on the wrong layer. You'll go up this way into this little area. And the unfortunate part about this is that the moment you pass this area, it does actually get blocked off. I think it gets blocked off here or here. One of these 2 areas, but you can't go back without cheating or using debug or whatever. So really, you are now locked into this area, and it's a good area. I actually like this place. The unfortunate part is there's a lot of platforms in this area. This is not even the platforming sequence. This is just like to teach you where the heck you are. Immediately upon entering, you can go one of 2 ways. At this point, you're probably used to seeing like ledges and thinking, oh, I can just go up that ledge, or let's just go whatever seems to be the intended path. So you can either go up this way, or you can go this way. I think going to the right is more of the intended path because you are meant to kind of explore before moving up certain levels. So in my opinion, these ones are actually going to get 5s. Because at this point, they're just platforms to get you from one spot to the other. There's not really a whole lot going on. The same things can be said for a lot of these platforms, just kind of hanging around. It's the ones in the middle that are more unique, let's say. Like this one. This one has the bench, and this is a very good platform because of that. I will give this one a 6.5. Most likely, unless you are using the Hive Blood Grub Song method, in which case, you know, good for you. You know the easy way to get through the White Palace. You will be dying a lot and respawning here, like a lot. So, in terms of platform's sake, this is good. It has the bench, and it's not very far from the other rooms as well. There is a room over here, and there is a room over here. And both of those are required to progress in the game. So this one is pretty good for a 6.5. And this platform up here, it's the same one in the first room. There used to be doors here. After hitting some switches, these doors will open, therefore allowing this big platform to be its own. And just like the first room, this is our second time seeing it. It may not be as mystical or as awesome as the first time, so I think I'll just give this one a 6. Not as important. And then we also have our elevator over here, but we'll talk about that after we have access to it. Which means we're going to go hit those switches first, and then we'll come back to this room. I think the first room we're going to go to is the left one, and this is the left path. You'll notice I did darken the screen a little bit, but I went in-game and I had to darken some of the screenshots because if it's too bright, you actually can't see the platforms very well, so I had to remove a lot of the brightness. And this is also where a lot of the unfortunate parts of the White Palace starts to come into play. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, there is a lot of platforms, but a lot of them have multiple walkable surfaces, or they're connected to something else, or some other thing holding them back from actually being a individual floating platform. And of course we have a lot of buzzsaws. That's just the obvious part. And so one of those things is right here, technically, yeah, there is a platform above here. However, it's not actually its own individual thing. So once you enter from the right side of the screen, you are supposed to go up and around and go through this way. But there is a platform here connected to this one here. So unfortunately, we can't really rank this one. And by this point, a lot of the platforming is not actually platforms, they're actually buzzsaws now. And of course, everyone knows the joke, the Pale King loves his buzzsaws, but that's the whole point. That's what makes it difficult. So here's what I'll do. I will still explain all of these ones, but they all have a very unique thing going with them because of these buzzsaws. So I'll be ranking them in order of their difficulty and their importance. Like this one. Our first platform here, I think, gets a 7 because it's so important. After, arriving over here, you are supposed to jump through and land over here. And immediately you will see that there are 3 buzzsaws right underneath you, and you have to go around them. Or you can go through them. Because most people will, honestly, most people will just drop through this way. I actually don't know anyone who went this way and then went around. So in my opinion, I think this is a not great platform. I will give this one a 4. Just a measly 4. It's not difficult to get to. It's just out of the way, and that's really all that it is. This platform is good though. I'll give this one a 5.5. It's intended that you can just drop through the in between the spikes or the in between the saws because you're probably going to have to do that somewhat often. And then you have this one. And something that's really funny is that I messed this up a lot when I was first playing this. I would dash off the platform and immediately run into this buzzsaw. But you can just drop down and then dash. And I feel like I learned that way too late. But this platform is just an okay platform. I'm going to give it a 5. This one also probably just gets a 5, as well as this one. These are both just kind of the next platform, to say the least. And probably to say the most. It's not like they have a whole lot of... It's not like these platforms offer a lot of difficulty. They're just the next platform. This one is probably also going to get a 5. This one, however, I'm going to give a 5.5. The only way to reach this one, and I'm honestly kind of sad that it's the only way to reach this one, you have to dash, and then dash again into double jump to go around it. Or jump, and then dash, and then double jump. You can't actually go this way. It looks like there's just barely enough space, but unfortunately the hitbox of the knight and the cliff, or the little ledge right here, is not big enough for you to sneak around. So unfortunately, you have to go around it the long way. And then when you go upwards to where we find even more platforms. Oh boy. I think in this area, this is where I had the most first struggle. Outside of, our first little platforming sequence, this is where I had the most amount of trouble because of this buzzsaw. Now, getting to this first platform is not hard. You can just pogo and get over there, or you can just double jump your way up there. This platform is not the bad one. This is actually just a 5. You are completely safe here. It's this platform that caused me a lot of trouble. This buzzsaw just kind of moves back and forth, to the left and to the right. The issue is, if you're not paying attention, or if you lose track of where it is, you will get hit by it if you are standing on this platform. So in my opinion, this one gets a 4.5. It's not a bad platform. It does its intended purpose of you know you are in the way of that buzzsaw. But especially for people who might get slightly overwhelmed, this is a difficult platform. And you have to time it so that you get over here, and then you have to jump over here next. Because, example's sake, if the buzzsaw is moving this way, and you jump right behind it, by the time you get there, the buzzsaw is probably on its way back. And so you have to jump very quickly. My tip is, the moment the buzzsaw passes above you going in this direction, that's when you jump. So that way you can jump to the next platform without any hindrance at all. And this platform is also good. It's also keeping you safe. There's nothing difficult about it. It's just get there. This platform is also slightly difficult, but not for the reason you might think. It's only difficult because it's far away from you. And there are many different ways you can go about doing this. One of the more difficult ways to get about there is jumping up as the buzzsaw comes back around and you pogo off it onto there. That's probably the hardest way to get up there. Usually we just double jump and dash. But it is still a nice platform, I suppose. So this one gets a 5. And then we have this platform. You might think, oh, if I just double jump, pogo up here, and I can go this way, that might be faster. Well, the time spent pogoing is actually slower than just double jumping, wall jump, and then going this way. So you can kind of imagine, it's like pogo, wall jump, and then this way. You can kind of see which one is objectively just faster. But this is the This is the last platform in this room specifically. Once you go up here, then you have a little bit more stuff, and then we have a little bit more stuff, and a little more stuff, a little more buzzsaws. But that's the last platform in this room, connected to another room. So in my opinion, this one probably just gets a 5. There's nothing really special about it, it's just kind of there, I suppose. It's not a bad one, I want to make that clear. Then once you go up here, you'll exit through that little portion right here. And this is where a lot of people might mess up. You'll note, oh shoot, I just realized it's not perfectly lined up. That's okay. But yeah, there are buzzsaws on each of these lines. And it makes it really annoying because they all go one after another. So like, the moment the first buzzsaw comes around, the second one will start to come out, and then the third one, fourth one, and the fifth one, and then they all go back. And then you have a little moment of silence. So really, it's a lot of da-da-da-da-da-da. And then they repeat the cycle. They come back around and go back. So here's my opinion on these. There are, I think, 4 platforms here. The best way to go about this is the moment the buzzsaw is about here and starts to leave, that's when you make a mad dash for the top. That's when you already on this platform, I hope. Jump here, and then jump here. You have enough time to do that. Now, there is a little bit of a faster method, but it's a lot more risky and a little bit more tight window. It's simply, if you go onto this platform, and the moment they leave, you can pogo double jump, and I think it's slightly faster, because double jump does take you slightly higher than having to wait to go to the next platform, and by refreshing your double jump with each pogo, you actually get up there slightly faster, but the window to actually do that is a little bit tighter, so I don't blame you if you don't want to go for it. In my opinion, these platforms at this point are all good, because now it's telling you you have to be patient, unfortunately. For casuals, it might not be the worst, but for speedrunners, it is pretty rough. So I think this one gets a... let's give this one a 6, 5.5, 5, and then this one also gets a 5, because by the time you're up there, you're free. And then we have some more buzzsaw sequences. And everyone's favorite part of White Palace, Snail Skip. The knight's usual hitbox, which is about here, will overlap with this big circle of a saw, but by... let's use a new color, shall we? But by using Shape of Un, your hitbox actually shrinks to roughly this size, which means you can very safely go across. It's really funny because it's such a random skip, and if anything, it's not that worth of a skip because you have to precisely land on this platform, otherwise you will just get hit in general. I think it's a really funny skip, but it's not a worth skip. It's just a meme. The intended route that you're supposed to go through is to go all the way up here, up and around, this way. However, there is a faster way to go through this, and that's just by going up, around, and then heading straight back down over here to this platform. And that is actually the last platform in this area. I guess I could rank this one. We'll give these ones asterisks, I suppose. So I'll say asterisk. This one will probably get a 7. There's a lot of things to take note of, obviously. Once you go up here, you're fairly safe. But then you have to go back around, and then you have to get through this little segment over there as well. And of course, there's lines over here which indicate there are buzzsaws to be had. It's this platform that I actually really, really like. I want to give this one a 7.5. I don't think it's worthy of an 8, but it is a very good platform because, well, once you go over here and you go down there, this is one of those skip platforms. You can just bypass this entire buzzsaw sequence, and it makes it really nice. So that one gets a 7.5 in my book. And then once you go over here, there's another switch, another switch to open up the lantern thing, which lights up one of these 2 light bulbs. There's actually 2 of them here. So one of them is to the left, you know, the room that we just went to, over here. And the other one is to the right of this main hub area. And that is this room over here. I find this one a little bit interesting because the moment you go in, you actually enter from this side. And you immediately see the switch, and you realize I have to hit that. But it is blocked off. And this is where we have one of the most interesting platforms. Just like with the slope ball speedrunning trick, there is another speedrunning trick here that is arguably slightly less difficult, but still very difficult nonetheless. It's called Abyss Shriek Pogo. Let me draw this out in hitboxes. Once you do Abyss Shriek, you are flying like right about here. Abyss Shriek hurtbox looks like this. This is what the Abyss Shriek hurtbox looks like. You can, I think it's like 1, maybe 2 frames of window of opportunity, where you can actually pogo. Pogo is roughly this shape, and that little tiny bit of overlap right here is enough that you can pogo off your own Abyss Shriek. The thing that goes above you, you can pogo off of, and then do another Abyss Shriek and continue climbing upwards as far as you want. And by doing that, you as the knight technically will just skip this entirety of the platforming sequence of this entire area and just go up here. Yeah, you can just barely see it. The switch is right there. You can go all the way up here and bypass all of this platforming sequence to the right. It's crazy, yes, but it's also really cool. So in my opinion, this platform right here, I'm actually going to give this one an 8.5 because of its importance. In the speedruns for, I guess, White Palace and such, they use this one all the time. And unfortunately, I actually can't Abyss Shriek Pogo. I'm actually pretty bad at it. I think I managed to get it a couple times practicing for like almost an hour, but I'm not good at it. And I respect anyone who can. But by doing that, you actually shave off like a good minute of time. So I like this one. This is a very good one for speedrunners. Just not good for me. For casual, you might not even care. That's okay. Now, because of the way the screenshots just kind of overlap and such, there is a room in between here and the next area, but there's nothing there. It's just a hallway with some buzzsaws. So the moment you go to the right, you'll actually end up all the way over here. And this is where we're going to be dealing next. And in this little area, there's actually a lot of really good platforms here, both for casuals and speedrunners. Obviously, our first platform is meant to be this one here, but realistically speaking, our first actual platform is this one down here. For a casual, you might see that one and just hop over here, and you might hop here and then hop here. This is your safe platform. Those first 2 platforms are not necessarily safe, they're just, you know, like, hey, you should hop over here, and then hop over there. So in my opinion, these ones get 5s. And this one will get a 6. And the way you go onto the next platform, which is over here, yeah, these are not overlapped the best. I tried my best, but just deal with it, I guess. The way you get over here is because this buzzsaw will actually go back and forth this way. And then you have to go around and then dash onto this platform. This platform, in my opinion, just gets a 5. Nothing too special, nothing too insane about it. You just go to the next platform, which is right here. And then over here. And then you go all the way down here. It's a little hard to see, but these are the little platforms you're supposed to go on. And then this platform over here. And due to our reasoning for floating platforms, this is the only one I can rank. The intended route is that you go down here, hop over here, 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 and then onto this platform. That's the intended route. And then this platform here, I think is pretty okay. It's the last segment in this little dark thorn area. So I'll just give this one a 6.5. Nothing too special, nothing too awesome about it. But it is like the light at the end of the tunnel, and you go up and you're back into this room. At this point, there actually are a lot of skips you can go for. Because this platform right here, with the spikes and all, actually presents you with a lot of different maneuverability options. One such skip is pogo here and go around this way. That's a pretty known skip. However, there is another skip immediately to the right. You can just pogo off of these buzzsaws, go left, and just squeeze through here. There's actually not enough room to go over here, and obviously it's blocked off. They did think of that, but they did not consider this route. So it's really cool. I actually like this platform. This platform, I believe, is also a respawn platform. And so you'll be revisiting this area a lot, and you'll just kind of have... And hopefully by now you'll have a good overview or layout of these saws. In my opinion, these ones, 5, 6 for difficulty's sake. You're supposed to go this way. And I'm going to give this one a 4.5. I actually don't like this platform very much. Maybe I'm just too Hollow Knight brained. I see this platform and I think, what is it there? What is its purpose? Because you can just pogo off and go this way instead of having to go this way and then that way. In my opinion, it's not that great of a platform. And then this one, oh, just a 5. 5. And then 5. We're now entering the realm where, at this point, most of these platforms will now return to their base 5 rankings. Because you should be well versed with what's happening in the White Palace by now. If you're looking at these platforms and still thinking, wow, these are hard platforms, these are very unique and very well placed, I would disagree. They're all just kind of there. Including this one right here. I think this one's just a 5. This one is also a 5. Except for... Well, hold my horses for a quick second. This one will also get a 5. This one, however, is actually very special. Not for any, like, oh, there's an insane trick you can do with this platform, like Slope Ball. It's, at first glance, especially for casuals, it's just a platform. You can actually skip the entirety of this little portion right here by doing one thing. It's pretty tight, but you can go this way. Unlike that one room, that little segment where you can't go above the buzzsaw, this one does have enough. And it's pretty tight because you do have to jump here, pogo, and have enough room to dash out. It is a little tight, but it is very possible, and I've done it myself. So in my opinion, especially as a speedrunner, this platform here is very, very special. I would give this one an 8. I don't know if it's worthy of an 8.5. I don't think it's that special. Especially because the skip involves the buzzsaw itself, not the actual platform. I think it's a good platform because of speedrunning purposes. And then we have this, I actually did not know this for the first time playing this game. I didn't know this entire thing was a platform. Oops. Yeah, this part right here, I did not know this was a platform. So for the longest time, I was stuck here trying to figure out what to do, because I would hop onto this ledge and then try to crystal dash over, and I would get stuck here for like a good 3-5 minutes. And then I realized, oh wait, that's just a thing you can stand on. So in my opinion, this one gets a 5. Nothing too special, nothing too big. It's just a long platform with one buzzsaw going back and forth. And then after this, you head to the left, and then you drop down, and then you get the switch. That's all in this room. But it is the last portion of this room. There are no platforms in between here and there. And then you go over here, and then you go through this little elevator. And this elevator, by now, you're more relieved, because now this is like this signifies I'm finished with this area. And I'm so glad I'm finished with this area. So it doesn't have the same weight as the first elevator because, well, this is our second time seeing it now. So in my opinion, I'll give this one a 6. It's okay, it's good, but it's not our first time seeing it and therefore loses part of its specialty. In the next room above us, there actually aren't many platforms. I actually had to go around and kind of look for them. Our first couple of platforms, in my opinion, aren't actually all that great. Not necessarily because they're bad platforms in of themselves, but because they're not actually needed at all. I'm pretty sure the intended route is simply to go down here and then land on this platform, because this buzzsaw is currently in its down position. It's supposed to go back and forth from here to there. And then you jump over here. The issue that I have is very simple. You don't need to do all of that, or even any of this portion at all. You can just jump, pogo, and then go this way, thereby, I guess, skipping this entire portion. So in my opinion, they're not great platforms, but they're not necessarily bad platforms either. They're just kind of the quote-unquote intended route. So I think I can only really rate these from a casual perspective. I think this one will get a 4.5. I think this one is one of the more difficult ones because you have to go around and you have to time certain things. And this one will definitely get a 4 maximum because this buzzsaw will be annoyingly going back and forth. Very similar to this one, I think this one probably will get I'll give this one a 4.5. It is somewhat difficult to get from here to there without either misspacing a jump or missing a pogo along the way. So I think it's kind of difficult. This platform here is good for the traps that it has, the buzzsaws and the spikes, but for actual platforming trying to get from one spot to another, this is a difficult platform. Because of that, I'm only going to give it a 4. It does its job really well, but we don't really like its job, the fact that it's very difficult. I think a 4 is reasonable. And I guess this does count as a platform right here. This little guy right here. I have mixed feelings about this platform. If you look carefully, well, I guess it's not really there in the screenshots, but right here there are little lances, spikes things that kind of protrude from the top, and they will stab the knight. Well, I think here, if not elsewhere. And that makes this corridor a little bit difficult because now they're introducing a new element to this already difficult platforming sequence. You now have to time things in terms of spikes or lances, not just buzzsaws going back and forth. Granted, it's not much more difficult, it's just another element of I need to start timing things a little bit more now. So in my opinion, this platform, in combination with the speedrun strat of just going this way, I think it's a really good platform. I'll give this one a 7.5. I think that's worthy of it. Unfortunately, these other platforms have multiple walkable surfaces. I can't actually rate those ones. But it doesn't really matter. The intended route is that we go to the right anyways. I think this one's just your average platform. You know, you go over here, you pogo onto this one. And then this platform, I think, I'll give it a 5 as well. You see this platform and you land on it, you have to guess where you're supposed to go next. You can't just, oh, I'm just going to drop downwards and see what happens. Well, then you lose a mask. And if you go to the right, well, then you realize, oh, there's more stuff to the right, and I have to go right anyways. So I think it does its job, but it's still a difficult platform. And then this one, I guess, will get a 5.5 for being a hidden platform. And then you have to climb this way. And these platforms are not necessarily anything special. I guess this one will also get a 5. But this one is somewhat unique. And you'll see this one a little bit later on. This platform also has spikes coming, or not spikes, but lances coming upwards. Just like in the previous little segment, where we had lances coming downwards in the little hallway. This one now has lances going upwards, and now becomes kind of a dangerous position to be in, because you cannot stay there for long. And what's intended is very simple. Pogo off these spikes here, and then pogo off these lances to get over here. It is a little bit weird because you could also just pogo off these spikes and then double jump over here. But for a casual, you might think, oh, it's safe to stand over here, and you might stand there unless you have already seen these lances. In which case, it becomes now a trap. So this is important. I'll give this one a 6.5. And I say it's important because, well, immediately to the left of this area, Both of these platforms, I think, have lances as well. And now it becomes a game of timing to go over from one platform to another. And so it becomes kind of difficult. And so now it becomes a little bit difficult in terms of timing. However, what I have found in my understanding of this game, it's actually easier just to go below. So most people would think, oh, I have to go around it and then go to the next one. I find it easier to just wall slide and go underneath. I have found this to be much, much easier. At that point, you don't have to even time the lances anyways, so I think it's worthy. And so because of that, in combination with the lances above it, its difficulty does make it, hard with the lances and you have to time it, but if you just go underneath it, it doesn't really matter. So in my opinion, I think a 5.5 is worthy. I don't really feel comfortable giving it a 5 because it's not just a platform, it's a platform with lances. And the same is true with these ones. I think this is just a 5. This one is just a 5. And then you continue going upwards. Nothing too special here. And that's all for this room. When you go upwards though, this is the last little bits of this area. And here's the issue, right? At some point, I don't exactly remember where things start or end from, but at some point, you start over here. Right, this is like the starting point. And the goal is very simple. Get all the way over here, and then you go over there, and then you reach the end of the White Palace. So here is where things get very odd, because in my research, I didn't know these platforms existed. Even in my casual playthrough, what I ended up doing was going here, hit this guy for some soul, and then just pogoed upward here. And I just continued going up. I actually did not know that these 3 platforms were even here in the first place until I started researching how many platforms there are in the White Palace. So it's accurate to say I was about 5 days old when 5 days ago old when I realized that these platforms even existed in this game. And for good reason too. I don't think these are good platforms. I really don't think so. Now, my assumption, and this really is an assumption, my assumption here is the intended route was meant to be this way. This is what it was originally. But the thing is, it doesn't make sense because there's so much distance between the knight and where they need to go next. So what I think is that they wanted you to kind of pogo your way up this way, but then why not just do it over here? So in my opinion, all 3 of those platforms are bad platforms. Another reason why I think they're bad platforms is because if you were to crystal dash in any direction this way, it's just void. So there's nothing there. So unlike previous platforms where, it fills up the space, it subconsciously allows the player to think, oh, there's something over here, or something like that. There really isn't in this case. So, in my opinion, obviously the starting platform is a good platform. I think this one gets a 6.5. This platform probably gets just a 5. I think this one will get a 5.5 because of this wing mold. It does give you infinite soul. So every time you hit it, it'll go back into its little ball form. And then you'll be able to hit it again, and then you can just farm soul here. So at any point in time you have less than full mass, you can just re-heal here. And then you just go upwards and you pogo up. I really did not know that these 3 platforms were here. In my opinion, I don't like these platforms. They don't serve much of a purpose, if anything at all. I guess the only reason you can probably get here is if you were to jump off and then go this way. But at that point, you just go back around and go back up. So, I don't know. These are definitely the weakest platforms here. I think 2, maybe a 1, then maybe a 1.5. I don't know. I don't like these platforms. I don't see the purpose of them. As far as I'm aware, I can't tell what they're supposed to do. So I don't like these platforms. The same cannot be said for this platform, though. This is a good platform. 5.5. It does allow you to, have a brief moment of respite for continuing your climb along this weird-looking platform. This is another one of those, I'm gonna say asterisk platforms, because it does it is a technically platform, you just can't stand on it. So, for its difficulty involvement of this entire room, I will say this is probably a 4.5. It doesn't really serve that big of a purpose. It is not an actual platform, so hence the asterisk. But I think a 4.5 is worthy. Same thing with this one. Oh dear. I very much moved this one terribly. I just realized it is terribly aligned. Let me fix that real quick. Okay, that looks a lot better. I can't seem to get this part taken care of though, unfortunately. It's just gonna have to stay like that. But yeah, this platform here is pretty okay, I suppose. It does suffer from the same thing. There's no walkable surface, it's just a pogoable surface. But it's still not a bad platform. In terms of what it is, it's not bad. And I guess it's not showing here, but I do want to point these out. This platform, to get there, there are these little wedges, if you look very carefully. There's this little light wedge here, and there's a big one here. These little wedges actually are lances, so they'll stick out like this from both sides, not allowing the knight to go past them. That was a terrible whatever. You get the point. Essentially, you have to go beyond that. What I found to be a little bit more easy, I don't actually remember if you can reach it. I think you can via this way. I think you can dash, double jump, and then dash right off the wall. Or I think you can just go this way. I'm not entirely sure, but if you were to get this way, it would definitely be a lot easier. In this case, you would have to time and make sure once the lances come out and then go back in, that's when you strike. So in my opinion, this still gets a 5, because it does serve its purpose, but it's not necessarily a real platform, so to speak. But it does provide some nice stuff. And then there's this platform, a little itty bitty boy. The only way you can get here is pogo off these guys and then land there. But at that point, I would rather pogo, double jump to get up here. Not that it's a bad platform, it's just that I don't think it's necessary. And so because of that, you're getting a 4. And then once you're here, we crystal dash all the way to the right, and then we climb. And then we have our last platform of this room, this very large one. It is an okay platform, at best. That's all I can really say. The most 5 out of 10. The most average platform. Like, I don't know. What do you want me to say about it? It looks nice? Take it out to dinner first or something. I don't know. It's just there. But once you get past here, there are no more platforms in the rest of this area until we get to the last elevator of this White Palace. And this is the last platform right before the Pale King. And you can see this is like his little pedestal, and then the Pale King is to the right. But this is the last elevator in this area. And I actually like this elevator because it signifies how much importance this room has. In the other 2 elevators, they were in the main hub, the big area, and a little sectioned off area. But this is its own unique area. And even before this elevator, at the bottom, you see a lot of these broken king's molds. And you realize something's different about this segment of this White Palace. And then you step on this elevator and it takes you up and you realize there is definitely something different about this area. And especially for casuals who may not, know this entire area by heart, you don't realize this is the last room. So in my opinion, even though this is the 3rd elevator we see, I'm gonna give this one a 7.5. It is very special. And then you go to the right and you recognize this is the Pale King. This is the end of the White Palace. Except it's not. Because for those of you who know, and even those of you who may not know, we have one other area in the White Palace to go through. Behold, the Path of Pain. Now, something that is very important, and I want to specify this. There's not actually many platforms in this area. In fact, if you look at it, this is Path of Pain Area 1, and the other area of Path of Pain that even have any platforms to begin with. So, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but Path of Pain doesn't have any... Technically, Path of Pain only has one platform. And it's this platform right here. Everything else is a wall cling platform, like these ones. So I do want to rate those ones specifically because that's the whole point of Path of Pain, it is a long, arduous thing. But in terms of floating individual platforms, these are the only ones here. And you can count them on screen. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that's it. That's all that's in Path of Pain. So I'm sorry to disappoint you, but there really is not a whole lot. And I can't really rate them any higher or any lower than they already are, because they're just meant to be here for pain. You know, this platform here, I think, is actually the weakest of the platforms, because by the time you get here, this is the first platform that you'll see. In order to get here, you have to jump here, jump here, jump here, wait for this buzzsaw, and climb up, climb here, just to climb back there. But the whole point of this platform is simply to go from here back to there. Because of this moving buzzsaw, it'll just go back and forth. So in my opinion, this one probably, in regards of Path of Pain, probably just gets a 3. Because you probably don't even need to use this platform in the first place. As this buzzsaw moves around, you can just time yourself and just jump off, double jump back on. So in my opinion, this platform doesn't really need to be here in the first place. And then our next platform is completely made of thorns. This is actually a cool platform. I like this one. Main reason is because you can go here, pogo, and then go here, and then once you pogo off of this King's Mold specifically, you have the option of going up, which is significantly easier, or being a cool gamer and dashing through this little window. And I'll be honest, of course I went through this small little window as a casual. But I do not blame you at all in the slightest if you decided to go up, because it is simply a lot easier. Something I do want to call back to, and you might not recognize this, this actually does remind me a lot of the entrance to the Brooding Moloch fight. If you remember, the Brooding Moloch fight had a little corridor very similar to this, where they had spikes here, spikes there, and spikes here, and you had to pogo off each one of them to get there early without double jump or the Mantis Claw. So this actually reminds me a lot about that, and I don't know if it's a throwback to that, but I think it would be really cool if it was. But for its skips and for its difficulty, I think this one will get a 7. Upon heading downwards, there's nothing here. There's a infinite soul totem. You can hit this thing infinitely and get infinite soul. And then we have these guys. No, you cannot stand here. I was using debug mod. Don't try to stand here, you'll just lose a mask. But these platforms, I think, are really unique because of how you have to use them. These platforms are meant to be wall jumped and not stood on at all in the slightest. If you look at it, the whole purpose of it is, you jump over here, and then you might go above it, slide down, and you go to this one. It's such a unique way to use platforms, ones that I have not seen in this entire game up until now. And so because of that, I actually think these are really, really unique and cool platforms. I will give these 7, 7, and then a 6.5, because by now it kind of gets annoying. And you'll see that it does get a lot more annoying later on. And then you go up, and then there's no more platforms until we get to the next room, which I think is eventually you'll go over here. And then you have this platform. This is such a lame platform. It's not a bad platform, but it is definitely lame. Comparatively to all of the buzzsaws and all the terrible platforming that you had to go through, it's definitely lacking luster. So in my opinion, in regards to Path of Pain, this one gets a 3. Just okay. There's nothing bad with it, it just moves you on to the next platform. And then you go upwards, and eventually you make your way around, and then you're greeted with these platforms yet again. At this point, these platforms might be the bane of your existence. Not necessarily because these are difficult, but because these are tedious at this point. It's not shown here, but I think right about here, there are lances that pop up, and you're supposed to pogo off them to get to here. Or you can just crystal dash from the previous ledge to get here. But the reason why it's so difficult is because you're supposed to go this way, and then go this way over here. But any small incorrect movement will cause you to fall, and a very, very small chance of actually surviving. So in my opinion, these are now much, much more difficult than the previous ones. Well, these ones were cool. These are awesomely implemented, and they're unique and new. Now they're just pain. So in my opinion, 6, 5, and then 4. I think that is worthy. And then if you keep going to the right, you'll end the Path of Pain. You have a little mini boss fight with 2 King's Mold, and then you witness, and then you're done. And that's the end of Path of Pain. So I'm so sorry for people who were very excited for Path of Pain. Like, oh my goodness, I bet there's so many platforms in Path of Pain that he's gonna have to rank, and all of them are difficult. I'm sorry. There really is only one true platform in this area, and it's not even that special. But there are some cool platforms, but a lot of them are connected to walls or floors or ceilings or other things. I can't actually rate them. I apologize on behalf of Path of Pain. But we're not finished yet. And you might be thinking, well, what the heck? We went through all of White Palace, we finished by getting to the Pale King, and we did Path of Pain. There is something unique in this area that I want to point out. And I put it on this connected here because I didn't know where else to put it. Randomly, and very, very randomly, out of bounds, we have a lot of random platforms. I don't know how else to explain it other than, why is it there? So random plats outside of bounds, this is just littered all across all of the White Palace. Regardless of where you go, if you have debug mod, you can see these platforms just kind of randomly scattered about. There's, on this screen alone, you see there's one here. I'm on the wrong layer. You'll see that there's one here. I guess technically this giant one counts. And then you see these ones. These ones are actually the most common ones. You'll see this weird pattern thing pop up every now and then using debug mod. I don't know what they're supposed to be, but they're kind of cool. So, I'm not sure. These are really weird. I don't know why they're there. Maybe they were cut content, or maybe they were copied and pasted platforms from one thing to another, and maybe they just covered it in spikes. I'm not sure. I would love to see some kind of logical explanation as to why these platforms are here in the first place, when we can't even access them. But it is interesting, but again, they're out of bounds. And there are, I think, a total of 5 of these. I don't know where they are specifically, but I think there's a total of 5 of them somewhere along the line. And so because of that, because they're kind of cool, I wonder what their purpose is, but because they are out of bounds, you can't access them ever, I will give them a starred 5. 5, 1 for each platform, for a grand total of 5 out of 10. I think it's kind of cool, even if it's not very special. But those are all of the platforms in all of the White Palace. These random ones that are out of bounds, the one true platform in Path of Pain, and then everywhere else inside of the White Palace. So these are really, really nice, if you ask me. A lot of this place is really cool, a lot of this place is really fun, except for maybe Path of Pain, but it does provide a lot of good challenge. So in my opinion, White Palace, it's a good place. This place is really nice. I think it's pretty cool. I will say Path of Pain is obviously the Path of Pain for a reason. Watch me do it invisible. That's one of my proudest moments, even if it took me a really, really long time and I started losing my mind. But I did beat Path of Pain invisible, where I cannot see the night. But I think this is still really nice. The White Palace in of itself is a good area, even if it's littered with so much lore, so much backstory. I think it's still really good. Now, whether or not you agree with all of my, rankings of all these platforms, or maybe you think I should be doing something else, just leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Is there anything else you want me to do in this area? Because there is a lot more you could do, but I'm ranking platforms right now. That being said, this was the entirety of the White Palace, including Path of Pain. I've been Facade. I hope I have you. I hope you have a good rest of your night, or your day, depending on your availability, of course. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.